Before we get into this timeline, I need you to know something. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm releasing the most important video I've ever made. The full origin of Dread Empress Madoka. How Homura's time loops didn't just protect Madoka, they broke her. And in that breaking, something else was born. But before we get to that final form, we need to talk about the warning signs, the twisted roads that led there. This story might be one of them. Oh my god, what did I just read? This is the darkest Madoka Magica timeline ever? A world where Homura betrays Yashio. A world where Alina Gray raises witches on purpose? This might be the most disturbing manga I've ever seen. And Homura, cold, calculating, and lets Yashio walk into a trap. Why, Homura, why? Because this time, she's working with Alina Gray. No! And if you've never heard of Alina Gray before, oh, sweet child, you're in for something special. Alina Gray isn't just some smuck villain. She's a performance, a prodigy, a painter, a monster with a toothbrush. A paintbrush. She doesn't kill for power. She kills for beauty. She doesn't want control. She wants art. And she'll twist your agony into her masterpiece with a smile on her face and paint on her hands. The more you suffer, the more inspired she becomes. Alina is the kind of villain who laughs at your last breath, then frames it in gold and hangs it on her wall. She's not driven by ideology. She's not pretending to be just. She's pure chaos with a brush. A girl who turned grief into gallery work. Like the magical girl Picasso. If she wants witches, she paints them. Kill witches, get bitches. She kills magical girls just to fuel her art. Now let me explain. This is a doujin manga, a fan creation, but it captures a version of Madoka Magica so twisted, it feels like it could be canon. In this timeline, witches are rising fast in Kamihama City. Why? Because Alina Gray is raising them on purpose. But where did she come from? Alina was a genius from the start, a child prodigy. Her paintings were praised around the world, vivid, surreal, and unforgettable. But it wasn't enough. They told her to paint what was beautiful, but Alina wanted to paint what was real. Pain, despair, the precise moments someone gives up hope. When she became a magical girl, her obsession deepened. She began experimenting, pushing others to the edge, just to see what their grief looked like. And when she discovered witches, she fell in love. To Alina, witches weren't monsters, they were mooses. Perfect expressions of artistic emotion. She started raising them like pets, guiding magical girls to despair like she was painting with their fate, watching them break, watching them transform, all so she could capture it, frame it, and call it art. And Homura makes a deal with her. Why? To save Madoka at any cost. She pretends to ask Yashio and Mitama for help, but it's all a trick. But here's what makes that moment even creepier. Out of everyone Homura could have used, she chooses Mitama. Why? Well, if you know your Magica record lore, there's a weird little detail. Mitama's character design? It looks eerily similar to Walpurgisnacht. Same flowing ribbons, same silhouette, and same unsettling calm. Back in the early days of the Magica record fandom, there was a theory, a terrifying one, that Mitama would eventually become Walpurgisnacht, that she was being protected, and even fed by the wings of Magus, a group who openly said, "We are raising witches." Of course, now we know that theory's not canon. Mitama's doppel isn't Walpurgisnacht, but Homura doesn't know that. Maybe, just maybe, Homura didn't approach Mitama by accident. Maybe she thought there was something darker in her, a connection, a mirror to her greatest foe. And if that's true, then Homura wasn't just using Mitama, she was testing her, maybe possibly planning to kill her. Homura's already sided with Alina Gray. The moment comes, Alina Gray's arm is severed. Yashio is struck down. Alina Gray stands over her, laughing, and Homura does nothing. That's when we realize the truth. Homura isn't saving anyone. She's sacrificing them, all for Madoka, and she's working to help lead Walpurgisnacht away from Mikihara City to Kamihama City to save Madoka from it, and so she won't become a magical girl. Mitama, who once tried to help her heal, trick, and maybe the same could be said of Yashio. Strong, stoic, always ready to protect others, even if it breaks her. A lot like Homura would become. Maybe meeting Yashio hardened Homura even more. This is where Homura would change and decided that her current self represented weakness that she had to cut away from. Like watching her old self die, so you can become something even worse. Yashio, who tried to protect her, left to die. And here's where it gets disturbing, because if you look closely, Homura doesn't just mimic Elena's strategy, she mimics her mindset. Cold, detached, maybe even inspired. There's a moment in Rebellion where Devil Homura smiles, not the smile of a savior, but the smile of a girl who's already started slipping into something else. Something like Alina Gray. Could it be that this Homura in this timeline learned from her? Or worse, felt understood by her? A girl who finally saw her obsession not as madness, but as art, because Homura's obsession with Madoka is art. This is a timeline where Homura becomes something else, cold, strategic, ruthless, maybe even a little like Elena. And then Madoka finds out? She's horrified. Walpurgisnacht is coming, and Madoka becomes a magical girl again, not to be saved, but to stop Walpurgisnacht and Homura, and to take down Alina Gray once and for all. That's right, Madoka kills her. Yes, thanks to Homura, Madoka becomes a magical girl murderer in this timeline. Alina Gray dies. The girl who painted with despair finally ends up on her own twisted canvas. So what is the story? Nightmare or a warning? Could this be a possible future for Walpurgisnacht Rising? Is this the kind of decision Homura could make? And what does it say about what she's becoming? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would you believe this was real if you saw it animated? Does this feel like the path Homura might actually take? And hey, if you want to read this manga yourself, I've linked the artist's Twitter in the description. Go support them. Subscribe for Madoka Magica videos every week. This story broke me a little bit, but I'll see you in the next one. Until then, be careful who you trust, even Homura. Because if this timeline tells us anything, it's that the line between savior and villain is thinner than we think. Homura once vowed to protect Madoka at all costs, but sometimes when the cost is too high, you don't just lose the battle, you lose yourself. And tomorrow at 5 p.m. EST, we're going to witness what that looks like. The birth of something terrifying. The moment Madoka stops being saved and starts being shattered. If you're watching this before it drops, stay tuned. If it's already out, you can click here to see how far Homura truly falls, how far Madoka is pushed, and what happens when time loops finally break. I'll see you there.